do the best we can. Okay, we all know Massimo Corona, and he was one of the early students of Lama. So Massimo, he's also, for those of you who don't know, his family is sponsored this place. So, so it seems right to start with Massimo. And he met Lama a long time ago, one of the very first students, like 1971, something like that, 1971. Most of you weren't even born. So he's going to talk for a little while, maybe till 3, and then Charles is going to come. So however long, and then we'll hear from Elisabeth, and then next time we have Ulnus here. And in case I left anyone else, is there anybody else here that met Lama Yeshe that I don't know that might want to tell a story? Yeah. Okay, well, let's just start, because we already, and of course our motivation is to develop Guru devotion so we can attain enlightenment for all sentient beings. Thanks, Massimo.
So now you can guess my age. I didn't want her to say exactly the date when I met Lama, because now you make some calculation and you know my age and you know that I'm old. Yeah? Okay. Well, yes, that's right. April 1971. It was just the time that the first meditation course with 7 or 8 people just ended in Copan. And, Lama Zopa taught the first meditation course. And then I arrived and I met Lama. And Lama was teaching on Sunday a public talk. And so I went to this public talk, and it was amazing because it seemed that he was talking about me all the time, what happening in my mind. It was too much. And then he started to give private classes to the older student, but they were older just because they did the course just 1 month before of Lama Zopa. I mean. And I was the newer student. I think it was Thursday and Tuesday, and that's it. And but Lama way of teaching was just only talking about the mind, how it functions, and it was amazing. And then I remember very clearly the first time I had a question to ask him. So I went. It was in the old Copan Gompa. That was the king's astrologer's house on top of Copan. Now completely tore down, and now there is a huge monastery. But at that time was the king's astrologer's house, and Lama was living in a small room. The beginning, while Zina Rachevsky, you heard about Zina, she was, she was the first nun of Lama Yeshe and Sosala in New York. Anyway, that's a long story. But she had a huge room with a chimney, and Lama was a tiny little room. He didn't even have the altar. He just had the small table and the mattress on the floor. And so I had to go and ask him this question. And Zina was on the door. She was tall with this Betty Davis eyes, blue, Betty Davis eyes, looking at me and said, "What do you want?" I think I was 23 years old at that time. So I said, "Well, I have a question." "Okay, do quick because we have to go to town." So I enter and I ask Lama, "Well, Lama, you said that we have to watch our mind, but what is watching? What is that is watching?" And he didn't answer. He just he had the 7 water balls on his little table, just this meditation table, because he didn't have the altar, so just there. So he took 1 water ball and he poured it in a glass of tea glass, empty. And then he took the other water ball and he poured it inside and just asked me, "How can you tell what is the water of the first water ball and the second water ball?" And I had an incredible flash, and he asked me, yes, how can you distinguish the two waters, pouring? So I just backed up, oh, thank you. He wanted to talk more, but to me it was an incredible flash. I had, and I went out, backing like this, looking at him. And then I understood that he was my root guru, because, his words, Then later on, many years after, in Laudo, 1 year after in Laudo, I asked him, how can you really understand who is your root guru? Because I met many lamas. In fact, I met many lamas of different sects. I went in Rumtek, I met the Karmapa, Kalu Rinpoche, a lot of lamas, and he said, well, all the lamas are Buddha, but there is one. His words are like an atomic bomb for you. He is your root guru. So that was exactly what happened to me, okay? His words are like an atomic bomb. And this is a very good advice for all of you. Who is the root guru? That's it. The guru that, for example, even now, when Rinpoche talks about sunyata, although, we heard many times, not existing from its own side. Okay, this sentence, how many times we heard it, we read it, okay? Not existing from its own side. But in fact, when he said this in Vienna, I went to take the Medicine Buddha initiation in Vienna, a few weeks ago. And he said it, and suddenly, it opened up a door to me, just like I never saw it in that way. Amazing. So that is really when, your root guru manifests himself or herself, when the words are really penetrating inside. And Lama was definitely like this. And then in the course of, then I went to Laudo, and he came to Laudo, and it was, I made a retreat in Vajrasattva retreat, the first Vajrasattva retreat in Lama Zopa's cave in Laudo with him and another Geshe Thubten Tashi. Geshe Thubten Tashi, he was practicing Yide, which is mental recitation. So in 2 weeks, he finished 100,000 Dorje Sempa mantra. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I did only 10,000, So then we finished the retreat, because he finished the retreat, and Lama Zopa went on to do a Vajrayogini retreat, and I went down to another place, Genupa, where there is water, spring water, and tried to continue by myself the retreat. But and then Lama came. It was beautiful. It was really. And then, of course, the most important thing is when Lama. When we did the second meditation course in Italy, this place was not yet acquired. So the first meditation course, we did it in a Christian retreat place, because we found out that in Italy there are so many Christian retreat places that are always empty, because there is no vocation anymore. There is a book with all the addresses of all these retreat places. So we went to one near Como of the Father Barnabiti, and that was the first one. And my mother came, and she met Lama Yeshe. And, amazingly, I want to tell you something very personal. When I introduced, they were both standing. Lama was standing and says, Lama, this is my mother. And he kissed her on the lips. On the lips. Can you imagine? Yeah. But that was an incredible move, because after she fell in love with him. So at the second course, 1 year later, we did the second course in a old hotel, dismissed, kind of half dismissed hotel, and you know, and she invited Lama at my parents' country home, and Lama accepted, so we went there. Just, you know, this thing that she was in love with him, I mean, she invited him, and then we arrived at my parents' country homes. And, you know, you have to, so I have to say something. You know, there was a French guy, I don't remember his name, related to Francois. Francois, the previous husband of Maria Torres, right? His cousin, not Francois, but his cousin, for a very wealthy French family that opened a bank account at Union de Banque Suisse in Geneva with the name Lama Yeshe. And he put some, you know, I don't know, some $5,000 there, whatever. And my father saw the name card with the bank account number on my desk, you know, in my house in Milan, and he immediately thought that Lama Yeshe was just there for the money, to suck the money for all of his students. It was a money thing. So he had an incredible preconceived idea, you know. So we arrived at the family country house, and I mean, I do not remember what Lama Yeshe said, but after half an hour, he was talking to my father. My father started crying, okay, crying with the tears like this, and said, okay, if you want to make a center in Italy, I will help you. Okay, so this is what happened. Magic, totally magic. He was like that. He had a charisma that was unbelievable, a vibration, you know, and then, you know, it was a country house with a vineyard, you know. My father was just a hobby, making wine and selling wine, you know. So at nighttime we had dinner, and my mother poured some wine to Lama. I said, no, Mama, you know, monks, they don't drink wine. And Lama said, what? Why? What? And he closed his eyes like this, and he just drank a sip. You see, that was Lama, you know, completely breaking all kind of preconceived ideas, you know, about everything. You know, he was behind, you know, all our preconceived ideas. And, you know, what can I say? I mean, it was so many. I mean, I remember another time, you know, just a few moments of you know, flashes, blessing actually. Yes, I remember one time I was talking to him and I said, well, I just read that Milarepa said in his biography, said when the Guru is happy, enlightenment is near. When the Guru is happy for you, enlightenment is near. And Lama said, yeah, the Guru, your inner Guru. Don't you think that the outer Guru, you have to look at your inner Guru. This is your inner Guru that has to be happy. So, you know, all of this, always pushing for a little bit more. And, you know, yeah. Then, you know, my last, when he was in Delhi, just 3 months before he passed away, he was in a secret house in a farm outside Delhi with oxygen. But, you know, I was in Delhi and, you know, he asked to see me. And Corona was taking care of him. And he didn't want to see many students, but he said, if Massimo comes, okay. And he was, you know, he made such an effort to come to the table and eat just like the old times, you know. Offering dinner and say, how is your mama, how is your... But he was making such an effort to be normal, you know, although his pain, I mean, he had a really terrible pain in his chest because his heart was like 3-4 times as big as a normal heart. You see, he had a problem at the valve. The valve was only opening 20%, and he could have actually had the valve substituted with a prosthesis many years before. That was a common operation. but he didn't want, to cut here at the heart, probably because of chakras and other, esoteric reasons. I don't know. Because if he had changed, before a few years, just change the valve and put a plastic one, he could have lived many, many more years for sure, But then because, of the effort that the heart was doing to pump, because the valve was not opening completely, his heart started to be so big, pushing the chest, pushing the lungs. He had difficulty in breathe, All this part of his chest was his heart was like unbelievable big. And that was, after, that was the last time I saw him. And yes, so, well, just go back to, excuse me, leader, do I have to stop now? Or she is our leader, One more, okay, one more is magical. Well, the thing that he convinced my father is already very magical. I tell you. It was amazing. But then they developed a friendship, He came down many times and talked to him and asked him advice, to my dad what to do here. Because the point of buying the center, you see, the center, we bought it, it was 120 million liras, okay, in 1977. I found, I looked so many places, and this place sounded perfect for many reasons that I don't want to make it too long. But of course, I sent the pictures to Lama, and he said, okay, that's it, go for it. But then, the remodeling, the remodeling, it was at least 550 million lira on top of it, you see, because we tore it apart, the roof inside, the heating, the plumbing, unbelievable. 3 years of incredible work, including the little villetta, we call it, where the Geshes are staying now, where it's on an estate for 5 times. This one was not finished. There was no roof, just the walls, and that's it. And so it was kind of because every month or so I had to go back to my dad and ask more money. That was the point, because the bills were piling up, But he never, sometimes he was a little bit, pissed off, but he never backed. And, because Lama, I think Lama was making a lot of prayers and a lot of things, to make it happen. No, and then, at one point, yes, I want to say this, and then I stop to leave. Venerable Elisabeth. So, at one point, there was still the roof, not the roof on top of the Gompa, that was already finished, but we had to do the roof on this side, on top of what we call it now mandala room. I don't know if you know. I think was that anyway. And we needed more money. My father he said, okay, now it's enough. You go ask someone else. And what happened? That my mother had a diamond ring, okay, with a pretty big diamond, a small rock, okay. So she went to a jeweler and gave it to the jeweler, and she kind of sold it to the jeweler, and I don't know how much we got, 10 or 20 million lira, at that time, to finish to pay what we had to do. But then what happened, that, what happened, and my father went to that jeweler and bought back the ring. Okay? Yes, secretly. And then, I don't know, probably gave it many months after he gave it to my mom. But, my mom was very happy. She said, someone came and bought the ring. Oh, okay, fantastic. Oh, yes. Oh, I got the money. Yes. And was my dad. Okay, so that's about it. There are many more stories, I know. But, for my, now there are so many years gone, 45 years, 46 years, right? 40 from the beginning. And for me, I see Lama Zopa Rinpoche and Lama Yeshe as one. They are one in my mind. They are just appears differently, but they are one. So, I don't have any problem about, he was my good root guru and now he's not there. There is Lama Zopa Rinpoche. No, for me, it's the same thing. They are the same. They always been the same. Always together since Lama Zopa was like, I think, 16 years old in Baksa, when they escaped, they went to this, Rinpoche talks about Baksa all the time, Baksa Duar. They lived 8 years there, the old concentration camp from the British time where also Mahatma Gandhi and what's his name? Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru were imprisoned, So anyway, since that time, they were all together, and you see, so I don't have any problem about root gurus. That's the point. Okay, so now, also, yeah, she was there also at the very beginning. Yeah? But you have to stand up, this? Yes. Because the microphone has a wire. Okay. And you have to, she has a bit of a French accent, though, Okay. Oh, yeah, she is, okay. Just like you are here, she is. Yeah, she is the founder of Vajrayogini Institute. No, together with others, no?
Many others.
Many of others. And Vajrayogini is also, one of the biggest center of FPMT. Thank you, Elisabeth.
So I met the Lamas a little bit later than Massimo, actually. I came to Copan in 74, 7th November course. Zina was already in the mountain, and I think she was already dead. Actually, she already passed away. And so I came for the November course, and my English wasn't so good, so I was always trying to ask people, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Specifically this word check-in. I couldn't understand what it meant, And so Lama Zopa was teaching every day on the lower realms. Good introduction. And I didn't know anything about Buddhism. And suddenly, one night, Lama Yeshe came into the room, and he started by Tayata, exactly what Paula said this morning, Tayata O Mune, with this very deep voice, And then I was so surprised, just somehow, I was really shaken. And I felt something was going to change in my life, when I met this strange monk coming in, jumping on the throne. He was always doing this when he was sitting on the throne, always, which means, remember, impermanence, But usually the Lamas, they do it very discreet. Him, he was doing very loud like this. What? And so I decided to stay in Copan. I decided to get ordained very quickly. And I went to see Lama Yeshe, and he said, okay, but you need permission, You need permission from your parents. So I was so surprised, you know, because I was 24, you know, so how do I need permission from my parents? He was asking all the aspirants to get permission from their parents. So I wrote to my parents, and my parents said I was crazy. And anyway, Lama Yeshe said, okay, so I'm going to ordain you. So I got ordained there. And at this time, what Rinpoche explained, saying, you know, an explosion of Sangha. It was an explosion of Sangha. Many, many Westerners were staying there and living in ordination. It was a very nice community. Monks and nuns living together, brothers and sisters. And Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa, they were all the time there, you know. No centers in the West. They were there about 9 months a year and 1 month in Laudo. So we had the Lamas for us, you know, which was really, really nice. Lama Zopa was teaching us, Lama Yeshe was coming, teaching us, eating with us, you know, and we thought it will last forever like this. You know, it was really a very nice community. Living in the astrological house, like Massimo was saying, you know, and we were doing pujas in the morning, and church. Then we had breakfast together. Then we were working together, edition, cooking, gardening, teaching, editing. And we were getting teachings from Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa, depending. And Lama Yeshe was really very, very much with us. You know, he really liked this ordained Sangha. And he was always asking us, you know, the purpose of our ordination was to serve. Serving was his word, you know. So we had to serve the lay people, which is strange now, you know. When you go to Kopan, you know, you see lay people serving the Sangha. So we had to serve lay people. So we were, whenever we had courses, many lay people were coming, you know. We had a 1 month course, 2 weeks course, and we had to cook and serve the lay people, which was very nice, actually. And then 1 month a year, we were going to Laudo to do Nunes. And summertime, during the rainy season, we had to do retreats. And very often, Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa were coming with us to meditate, you know, which was really, really great. And then the Lamas started to be invited in the West. And our life started to change because we had many, many nationalities. And what Lama Yeshe wanted is to get centers in the West, to start centers in the West. Then like this, the students who comes to Kopan, when they go back, they could get a home, they could continue their study, they could continue to meditate. So one by one, we started to be sent to the West, which was a very big gap, at least for me, you know. And at this time, I met one guy called Denis. He was the second director at Vajrayogini Institute. I was translating for him. It was the 8th course. And he started to be my sponsor. And Lama Yeshe told me to go back to France. I was the only French person, actually. And to go back to France and to organize courses. So I didn't have a clue of how to do this, you know. So I went back to France, and I got a lot of advice from Lama Yeshe. First, he told me, I want you to start a French Buddhism in France. French Buddhism, what does that mean? I had no idea. And he said, so we invited him in, the first time we invited him in La Sainte-Baume, which is a very nice Christian monastery. Exactly what Massimo said, you know, we had no centers. So we looked at the Christians, a lot of empty buildings, you're right. And we started to organize in La Sainte-Baume because Denis had a land close by Marseille. And he wanted to give it to us. So the Lamas, they were really excited about visiting this land. So we went to rent this place. We organized a course. His Holiness Tzong Rinpoche came, and we had about 350 people at this time. And I made a talk about starting a center, in France for Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa. And about 10 people showed up and said, okay, I'm with you, you know. And some people are still there at Vajrayana Institute, still staying there and serving the center. And so we visited this land, and Lama Yeshe was very keen about getting buildings on this land, but we didn't get the building permit. So we started to look for many places. We invited the Lamas again. It was in 79. Lassenbaum was in 78. Vivier was in 79. And Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa taught there. And so we decided to sell the land and with the money to buy an already built building. So Lama Yeshe was very close to me, always calling me, how is it, you know, because I was searching so many places. I searched for about 8 months in my TUCV, Citroën, going around France, going around the country. And Lama Yeshe wanted a place not so far from a very big city, not so far from an airport, and easy to reach. And he had this idea about having a self-sufficient community with gardening, growing our own vegetables, and lay people could live there, family could live there, Sangha could live there, you know. So with this stereotype, I looked for many places, and I found the chateau en Closade at Vajrayana Institute. I sent a photo to Lama. Lama was very keen and said, buy it. So we bought this place. And before to buy this place, maybe you heard about Manjushu Institute. I'm sure some of you have heard about this place. It was the first center to be bought in Europe, even in the world, actually, for the FPMT. And one Geshe was sent here. It was Geshe Kelsang. And some problems arose, you know, about the Shukden practice. Maybe you heard about it anyway. I'm not going to talk so much about it, because it's much more a Tibetan issue. And Geshe Tekshok, who was living there, it was sent by Lama. He was an old friend of Lama. He was staying in Buksha, like Lama. Decided to leave because the problem with the Shukden practice, which was forbidden by His Holiness. So Lama called me one night and he said, okay, now you have to find a place for the lay people, but you also have to find a place for the Sangha, for the monastic, you know. And I was a bit amazed, you know, already difficult to find a place for the lay people, but now I had to find a place for the monastic. But, you know, Lama Yeshe's clairvoyance was so huge, you know. He knew I was the one who had the karma to find these 2 places anyway. And me, I didn't know. But he pushed me, really, he pushed me, calling me. So I bought Vajrayana Institute, the Chateau en Closade. This place belonged to the family of the very famous painter, Toulouse-Lautrec, right, thank you. And so we discussed with the family and so on, so we bought the place. And then the issue about Shukden at Manjushu Institute was very crucial, you know, and many Sanghas, because they couldn't stay in Nepal, because of visa issues, they moved to Manjushu Institute. So about 20 Sangha were living at Manjushu Institute, doing what we called the Geshe program. So Lama Yeshe was very worried about this Sangha, you know, and they had to move somewhere else. So I didn't know how to find the money to buy a place for the monastic. And then Lama Yeshe knew I was going to find the money for the monastic because he was pressuring. And then suddenly we had this fire on the west wing, you know, of the chateau. And Lama Yeshe told me, okay, you're going to get money from this fire, you know, it's purification. So, wow, purification, you know, it was such a big thing, you know, the firemen came, the cops came, you know, and many inquiries, you know, it was a very difficult, very difficult moment. And I started to look for a place for the monastic with the insurance money, and then that's how Nalanda Monastery came about, you know. And then Lama came to visit both places and said, "Oh, you are going to buy all the castle in France, you know." So at first, Nalanda Monastery was going to be for the nuns. Then I guess Lama Yeshe told me this, then I was going to be more motivated, I don't know. But then somehow it came up that the monks were much more motivated than the nuns to live there. And many times Lama Yeshe told me, Nalanda is going to be the sun for the center, you know. It's going to be shining all the time for Vajrayana Institute. So that's about all. Just noted a few things. Yes, whenever Lama Yeshe was coming to France, you know, one thing he really likes to do was to visit supermarket. And, you know, it was very surprising for me because supermarkets is a temple of consumering. And then things like things about food, you know, was always coming up in his teaching, like cheesecake, you know, for America, mozzarella for Italy, you know, and for France, so many cheese, hundreds of cheese, you know, hundreds of different kinds of cheese, and wine. Wine, it was very, I don't know if he tasted, you know, not in front of me, but anyway. He said, "Oh, wine, you know, same color like monk's dress, you know, very nice color." But it was a way for him to know about the culture of the country, you know, and that was coming back in his teaching. And another thing, you know, he really wanted the directors to be very clean, and he wanted the men to wear ties, you know, and for the women to be very clean. The Sangha always very clean. You know, he put all his nuns on diet, you know. Robina, myself, you know, and so on. Because he wanted us to be respectable. It was very important for him.
He used to buy Jackie's clothes.
What?
He used to buy Jackie's clothes for her.
He used to buy Jackie's clothes, she says. Yeah, so I think that's all what I have to say, unless you have questions.
Is Charles here?
Okay. Charles?
Thank you.
Okay, sorry for my bad English. You hear? Okay. Sorry for my bad English. Before I tell you that after. Then I came very later in Dharma after Massimo and Elisabeth. And I met Lama Yeshe and Kopan in 1980. And after we go to Laudo to make Nune. And we go to do two Nune. And some people a little bit complain because Laudo it's a hard place, difficult place. Then they ask some break between the two Nune. And Lama Yeshe say is not holiday camp here. You must. Then okay, after Nune, people were like usually, you know, people are waiting the Lama, you know, to pay homage, you know. With one of my old friend, Canadian, Robert. For two reasons, we don't want just to be too much, maybe grasping on the Lama, and also because we are called by the smell of the pizza of Kathmandu, you know. Then we want to go quick. Then we don't wait and we run straight to Kathmandu after the Nune. But we are quite very fast. Then after maybe 1 or 2 hours walking, nearly running, yeah, we cross a little village. And suddenly we see from maybe, I don't know, 200 or 300 meters, one monk. In the beginning we don't recognize, and he make sign like that, you know. It was Lama Yeshe, you know. It was like impossible, you know. Physically it was impossible like it was. Then we have a little doubt, you know. But it was interesting, you know, come. Then he was inviting us to drink a chai. Then, okay, we go. We had only two. Then we go. And that, I don't remember exactly what happened in the chai shop. But after what happened, it's, okay, like Massimo said, Lama Yeshe have a big problem with her, you know. Then, even if we are going from Laodo to Kathmandu, sometimes go like that, you know. And he asked me, then he go like that on me, you know, to walk. And friend Robert, you know, is taking umbrella, going after to protect Lama Yeshe. And before I was a nurse, you know, then after sometimes Lama feel very difficult to walk, you know. No, oh no, it's just few hours. Then after sometimes, you know, I was just wanting to encourage, you know, Lama. And we are just climbing, you know. And we have just maybe, I don't know, maybe 20 meters more to do. And Lama, she stop, you know, and she, you know, doing like that, you know. And like a stupid boy, you know, like I say, oh, Lama is only 20 meters. Make effort, you know. But I just want to encourage, you know. And he showed me, you know, like sometimes Lama Yeshe can look at you, you know, some deep look, you know. But okay, still, we do the 20 meter, you know. And at the top of the little climb, you know, there's a big rock, you know. And Lama doing like that, you know, doing like that. And just to, you know, to hold his body on the rock, you know. And at that time, you know, I go from, like, I don't know how can you say that, empty life, I mean still empty life, or like Lama will say, caca life, still like that. But it was very strong in me, you know, and I was feeling at that time that no hope, you know, my life, my heart is like dead, you know, something like that. And just at that moment, you know, the power of the link with the guru, you know, something like a life again inside, you know. I think it's nothing special, I mean, because I just one person, but just to tell you, you know, the incredible power of compassion of the guru, you know. Just, I meet Lama Yeshe only one time in Copan, just maybe for few days, like we was giving teaching in the night, like Elisabeth said, you know. But I never met him personally, you know. And how he, for me, more important that magic manifestation, you know. It's what the power of his compassion, taking care of one stupid boy who's never seen him before, you know. Just because one time Lama Yeshe said to one person who asked him a question about his commitment. Lama Yeshe, how you do your commitment? You are working all the day for people. And Lama Yeshe said, my commitment is you. Wow, that, you know, that just pure, complete, total compassion all the time. And also, one time, Lama Yeshe spoke about Guru devotion, you know. And he said, when you are in the front of your Guru, 100% sure in your heart, you can say and you can feel, this one is here for me and for all. Only for that. Only for that. Nothing else, you know. Wow. That is, just for me, is like the more magical power of the Lama. I said this story to Lama Yeshe when he came in Vajrayogini, you know. And Lama Yeshe said, oh yes, Lama Yeshe was doing things like that. And one time, Lama Yeshe tell me, I don't, maybe American girl, disciple of Lama Yeshe. She's staying maybe in Nepal, maybe isolated place since a long time. And she was like fed up with the tea, you know, chai or Tibetan tea, you know. And she was craving for Coca-Cola, you know. And she was a cup of tea in front of her, and Lama Yeshe put his finger in the cup, you know, and it became Coca-Cola. Lama Yeshe tell me the story. I think the most important is not that we are able to drink Coca-Cola in Nepal, in mountain. It's like what can save us is devotion. I mean, and we talk about that with Thierry. Like Lama. I'm sorry. Maybe I am not supposed to speak about that. Okay. Just Lama, you know, how he's expressing, you know, his teaching, you know. He don't care about if people think he's completely crazy, you know, because he's making sometimes strange sound or strange. But he don't care about him, you know, just for us, you know. That I think we must be very touched by that, because no intellectual thing can help us to change our. I mean, we need intellectual understanding of Dharma, sure. But what happened with Lama Yeshe on that mountain, you know, something touching my heart that I was feeling completely broken or dead, you know. And that maybe no teaching can help for that. I mean, not intellectual understanding of the teaching, sure. Not enough. As for wise, Guru devotion is so important, so important, so precious. Because it's not ordinary mind, you know. Something completely, and that it's a spark of whatever we call enlightenment or what. Just because there's some being, you know, like Lama Yeshe, you know, for him it was difficult to walk on that mountain, you know. And His Holiness one time he said, when Bodhisattva manifests like a pig, you know, to help sentient beings, you know, it's not like seems pig, he is pig. Then his feet is in a caca and he was eating caca, but just to help sentient beings. And that's same for the Lama, you know, they appears for us, you know, in any kind of manifestation, just to make us able to go in something like this, wow, beyond anyway, you know. That is for why, I mean, like Lama say, we're so fortunate to meet precious Lama, you know, incredible. Okay, sorry. Dedication, yes, it's true. Good. We are not only few human beings here who suffer in this universe. You know. so many sentient beings who are like completely lost in this suffering life, and no help, no Dharma, no Master, no Lama. Then all that sentient beings have been so kind with us, they give us life many times, they protect us, and for that also sometimes much time they accumulate negative karma, And anyway, like one poem of Seven Dalai Lama, all these sentient beings are a part of my heart, It's a part of my heart now, not separate. Here and for that sentient beings. Now, all what we do here, all together, because we are so fortunate to meet the Lama, then we must dedicate all our energy that sentient beings also may they quickly also find the Master, the Dharma, and may us be able to help in this life and other life. Jancho Rinpoche Mange Banage Gyoche Kemba